Shavua Tov, Avotavoch. This week, tonight actually, is the 10th of the month of Kislev, Yud Kislev, when the Mittel Rebbe, Dober Shneurit, the Rebbe that came after the Alter Rebbe and before the Tzemach Tzedek, was released from prison. We just remember in Shabbos Tes Kislev, which is when he was born and when he passed away. He was in jail under false and perjurious accusations of comploting against the Tsar. The story of tonight has also to do with false accusations and, luckily, Baruch Hashem, a case when the false accusations did not triumph. In the town of Zaslav, today called Zaslav, in southern Volhynia, north of the area where the Baal Shem Tov lived, in the year 1747, there was a blood libel, a false accusation against the Jewish community, a repetition of a medieval lie that Jews would sacrifice a Christian in order to take his blood for ritual use, or concretely for baking matzah for Pesach with. Certainly, such an accusation is completely baseless. Every part of the myth is false, as Jews do not kidnap, Jews will not present a human sacrifice, Jews will not gather blood for ritual purposes, human blood, Jews will not use blood to prepare matzah, anything in the matzah other than the strict ingredients of water and flour will disqualify the matzah. So even if by accident a drop of blood falls. So in all the ways you can look at the accusation is completely baseless, and yet is still believed by certain people in the region where the Baal Shem Tov lived, in the western Ukraine, in southern Poland, and even today there are people who think that Jews had such rituals. So we understand how it was possible to make such an accusation. We also know that many people, many educated people in those regions were even back then aware that such things were lies, and that it was nothing but a lie that could be used to manipulate the masses for violent acts, but not a real thing Jews would do. This story happens apparently a couple of years later, after the first blood libel of Zaslav, and it says, the author of the book says, Ot Maaseh Siper Rabbi Hirsch, another story that is Hirsch, the son-in-law of David of Ostra, mentioned in the stories before, told. In this story, the Baal Shem Tov came for a few weeks to the community of Zaslav, and he would celebrate Shabbos there. He uses the plural Shabbosim, as is the plural of Shabbos in Yiddish, not in proper Hebrew. Anyway, so while the Baal Shem Tov was in that community, in Zaslav, a non-Jewish person was found dead in the field, and an accusation by some local Gentiles was raised that this was a victim of a Jewish ritual sacrifice, one of these blood libels. So the people who made this accusation went to the Duchess, the local Polish noblewoman, to show her the body and tell her, look, in here the Jews killed this person. The Duchess, however, was very wary of making false accusations. Her husband had been involved in the false accusations before, the one in which actually acts against the Jews were committed. It was clear that the accusations were false, and her husband received what she realized was a punishment from above for allowing such false accusations to thrive. the Baal Shem Tov tells the story of this in a letter to his brother-in-law. The letter, a copy of the letter, ended up in the hands of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polnoy, who published it in his book Ben Porat Yosef. But okay, that's the other story, the background story. Now they have found again this body. The Baal Shem Tov is in town, and they tell the Duchess, here is the body of a Jewish ritual murder sacrifice, and the Duchess says it's not possible to do a conclusion as this. You cannot accept such a conclusion without proper investigation and trial. She wanted concrete proof that it was a man killed by the Jews, because she had the sense, especially after what happened before, that cannot just make up accusations like that. The Jewish people in town learned of what had happened, and they were very nervous, of course. So they sent Rav Isaac, the son of Rav David, to the Baal Shem Tov, who was staying by Rav David of Ostra's home. So they sent Rav Isaac to tell the Baal Shem Tov what was going on. The Baal Shem Tov was found standing up with one foot in a stool and the other on the floor, repeating verses of the Zohar after his sofer, Rav Tzvi. Rav Tzvi would recite them, Baal Shem Tov would recite them back, and he was very much like in a trance, with his eyes wide open and his face was shining as he was doing this. So Rav Isaac came in to try to tell the Baal Shem Tov what happened, and the Baal Shem Tov dismissing with the hand, just go, made him go away. This happened a couple of times, so the local Jews decided that the one who should bring the information, the news to the Baal Shem Tov was Rav David of Ostra himself. As an older, respected man, the host of the Baal Shem Tov, he would not be turned away. When the Baal Shem Tov heard Rav David telling him this, interrupting his reciting of the Zohar and telling this, he put his ear like this, his hand on the ear, and he says, Einani Shomea, I do not hear that this is being spoken of in heaven. After the Shabbos, after Shabbat had concluded, Be'emtza Yom, meaning on a Sunday day, the Baal Shem Tov asked from the people of the town to prepare the mikvah waters, to warm up the mikvah waters, because people are discussing, are talking about what's going on. Now, when it's a medavrim, I think it means in Shamayim, in heaven. This now is being discussed. So the Baal Shem Tov went to the mikvah, and then he came out and said, we don't need to worry about this at all. There is nothing to worry, not even a doubt. So the Jews try to figure out what's going on. The Baal Shem Tov says not to worry, and it's heard that the Duchess had called her personal doctor to come and do basically an autopsy, to examine the body in front of his medical students, the other people. Basically, they were going to conduct a research to see if the body was dead because of murder, or was dead by itself. Certainly, a ritual murder, the way they describe, would have to have been stabbed several times and made bleed to death, when as maybe the death was caused by something else, and you cannot even establish murder as cause of death. The people of the community of Zaslav were not too trusty of the Baal Shem Tov's word, so they paid off this doctor 30 gold coins as a illegal payment to make sure the doctor will determine that the cause of death is something other than murder. Thank God this was not brought against the Jews. I mean, bribing when you are under accusation could actually work against your case, but this was not brought up. The head of the Besdin of the community of Zaslav was the brother-in-law of Rav David, and he asked the Baal Shem Tov, why didn't you tell me or tell us that this was going on, that they were going to find the body of this Nochri, of this non-Jewish person, that we should not be afraid? Why didn't you warn us before? I mean, you knew this was going to happen. So the Baal Shem Tov answered, I had already prayed about this while in the mikvah, and I could not hear that nothing was being discussed in Shamayim, so I asked, why is this being hidden from me? It was revealed to me that the reason why this is being hidden is because I failed to deliver the proper hesped, the proper eulogy of a Talmid Chacham, called Rav Chaim of Brat. There is a source in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbos, how important it is to give a hesped, a eulogy, upon the passing of a big Talmid Chacham, of a Torah scholar. Then the Baal Shem Tov turned to the Rav of Zaslav, do you think that I don't know that you were watching me, that you were hiding in the bathhouse and under the bench of the mikveh, the room of the mikveh? Then the Rav of Zaslav confessed that it was true. In other words, he wanted to see the Baal Shem Tov and what kind of revelations he gets in the mikveh. I guess the story has three parts, right? There is the false accusation, there is a Baal Shem Tov being revealed in the mikveh, nothing was going to happen. There is the investigation, and it would not have been necessary to give the bribe, but they gave the bribe anyway. And then that the Baal Shem Tov knows he has been watched while he was in the mikveh. But anyway, he figures out the reason why they even had to go through such stress as the questioning of this Alilas Dam, of what he had done wrong. But in any case, the truth was revealed, and the Jews of Zaslav were not a victim of a second pogrom. And so we should pray for all truth, good truth to be revealed, for all good things to come up in the open, for us to be able to see. And this is the month, it's called, in Hasidus, it's called the month of Geula, the month of redemption. We should be able to see the redemption in front of our eyes, and not to have any questions, any problems, anything that blurs our vision of truth. A gute Woche, Shavua Tov.